Hopefully you're relaxing. Maybe you're getting ready to go to sleep for the night and you just need some comfort when it comes to money problems that you may have. Because I know that for me, as I've talked about in my previous episodes, I had really big money problems when I was younger. For those of you that are new to my channel, thanks for coming back. Or actually, if you're new to my channel, you would be coming here for the first time. For those of you that have been here, thank you for coming back. Osmosis while they're falling asleep. I want to start by saying that I never did anything really super risky when it came to saving and investing. I just did all the basics of things that you're supposed to do. And it was really about my own self-discipline than anything else. And that's why on this channel I hope to share with you guys, of course, exactly everything that I did. And it's not rocket science at all. As long as you have some income and you've got discipline, there's no reason why you can't do what I did over these past 15 to 17 years. Just as a recap, I'm 58 years old now. I was broke at 40. I had a bankruptcy at age 29. So I survived for about 10 or 11 years, just living paycheck to paycheck until I got to age 40. I woke up, looked in the mirror, and said to myself, I've got to do better with money. That became the beginning of who I would become when it comes to money. And you might be thinking, well, that seems like a long journey, 15 to 17 years, but I gotta say, 5 years, 5 years, 5 years, and 2 more is what it took me to get to a millionaire status after being broke at 40. So it can be done. I did not do anything crazy, like I said in the beginning of this episode. I didn't do anything risky. I just invested in the S&P 500, mutual funds, low cost index funds that ride the market of the S&P 500. So I'm trying to remember where I left off on my last episode, where of course I was talking about my journey. I imagine going forward these episodes will just kind of blend together, but once you get to the 15th or 20th episode, you'll probably have a really good understanding of actually everything that I've done. So if you're new to my channel, watch these sequentially. Where did I leave off last time? I think I left off with the bankruptcy at age 29. So I'd like to start this episode by talking about after the bankruptcy. I got to 30 years old. I felt like such a failure, but I didn't really tell anybody that I felt like a failure. I kept it all inside. So if you are joining this YouTube channel right now and you want to learn about money and you're not feeling like you're doing good with money, I would encourage you to find somebody in your life that you can talk to and confide in them and tell them exactly how you may be feeling. Because for me, I didn't do that. I wish I would have. I just kept it all to myself. And then, of course, I had the bankruptcy. Or if you can't do that, like I didn't do that, and I know everybody is on their own journey, then at least have the awareness in yourself. And I believe that you do, because if you found this channel, ASMR Money Mentor, then you are probably thinking about either getting out of debt or growing your net worth as you move forward. So at least say to yourself that you're ready to start anew. Maybe you're ready to stop spending. Maybe you're ready to start saving. Maybe you're ready to start finding the courage to be rich. To quote a book from Susie Orman many, many, many years ago, I'll be talking about the mentors that I had throughout this podcast or this YouTube channel. I would encourage you guys to have a mentor. Hey, maybe it's going to be me. I hope it is. Maybe somebody in your personal life as well, that can motivate you. I wish I had that when I was younger. I actually did. I'll talk about that as we move forward. But I think one of the first things you can do when you start thinking about having a better financial life is to admit to yourself, like I'm sure you guys are doing, admitting to yourself that there is a better way. Getting to that emotional financial bottom is what I like to call it. And then going from there. So I shared with you guys last time that I have another YouTube channel called the Frugal Millionaire. I also have a podcast called Broke at 40. And the Broke at 40 podcast is not something that I'm producing content on anymore, but if you want to check it out, you can. The episodes are really long. But it was an outlet for me to talk through my feelings, and I hope that some people benefited from it. And I remember one episode where I talked about handcuffs, golden handcuffs. So I know how I felt when I was broke at 40. It felt like I had handcuffs around my wrists that I could not, and I, for some reason, held back trying to do better with money. I was handcuffed to my own disadvantage, my own detriment. I did it to myself. And I really felt this even more when I was leading into my bankruptcy. But if you guys are feeling right now that you have some kind of handcuffs, and these are like metaphysical type handcuffs, they're not real, but if you feel restricted, or maybe you feel like they're behind your back and you can't move, you can't do what you want financially, but maybe you are because you're spending a lot of money. You've got to learn to release those handcuffs and free yourself from the financial train wreck that you have maybe made your life out to be. Like my life turned out to be a financial train wreck. Well, let's look at my career. As far as when I was working, I was 24 years old when I got my first job. So let's just bump that up to age 25. 25 to 40 is how many years? Let's get our calculator. It's a good trigger. Of course, I don't need a calculator to figure that out, but 25 minus 40, of course, is 15 years. Do you like that trigger? Sounds pretty good, huh? So, those 15 years, I classify for myself that I was a financial train wreck. Really. I had no clue what I was doing. I was a mess. That, of course, is where the first 4 to 5 years was spending. And I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but I went bankrupt over clothing. 24, 25, 26, spending, $40,000 worth of debt is what I accumulated in that time frame. And to me, that was a lot of money. So that 15 years, you know, if that represents you for your 15 years of being a financial train wreck, then hey, that's okay. You just have to know that you did the best you could in those 15 years. Now, put those 15 years over here. There they are. Now you have a new set of 15 years. And I don't know what age you are, it doesn't really matter. But be thinking in your brain right now where you were over here and where you want to become over here, because you can become anything when it comes to money. I like to tell myself that I became Evan Thomas. Evan Thomas is not my real name, but I became something that I wanted. And so I gave it a name, especially for my podcast, and then now the YouTube channel, and now this with ASMR Money Mentor. So I became Evan. You can become whoever you want. Pick a name, doesn't matter. But those 15 years over here, now you've got 15 years, 5 and 5. You have to do the right things with those 5 and 5 years, and 2 more maybe. I mean, I'm just saying that's what it took me to get to $1 million net worth. Well, actually, I think I did it a little bit faster than that. But, you know, you have net worth, and you have what you have in your savings and investing numbers, and I'll talk about that in other episodes. But I think it was 2020 that I got my net worth to $1 million, because that included my condo that was worth at that time, I think, about $140,000 or something like that. This condo that I'm in right now, paid it off in 2019. It's small. You know, like I said in the last episode, my net worth is $1.5 million. Most people that have a $1.5 million net worth live in big homes. Or you would think they would, right? The people that are in those big homes are probably having a net worth of even a negative number. It's crazy. But nobody knows that I've accumulated this wealth. Nobody knows who I am. I'm sharing this with you because I want you guys to know that you can do it as well. But those 15 years that you have now going forward, you cannot make mistakes anymore. So I want all of you right now to close your eyes, which they probably already are closed if you're ready to go to sleep and you're absorbing this information through osmosis. At least that's what I hope. I want you right now to say to yourself that you're going to do better over the next 15 years. And again, you might be thinking that's a long time. It's really not. It happens. It's going to happen even if you do good with money or not, right? If you just live your life and have no awareness, then you're going to be a financial train wreck in 15 years, just like maybe you are today, just like I was. And while your eyes are closed, I want you to visualize that these handcuffs that you have around your wrists slowly open up, these golden handcuffs that you've created for yourself, the debt that you may have, the income that may not be exactly what you want because maybe you haven't been trying, the money you've been spending on your credit cards to the tune of 5, 10, 15, 20,000, whatever it is, the minimum payments you're struggling to make, the home that you can't afford because you got into a loan that you just can't sustain over time, the vehicle, the car that you have in your driveway that you maybe lease that you can't really afford, and somebody told you at one time that you could afford it because you could afford what? The minimum payment, and you thought that that would be okay. And here it is several years later, and you wake up after you look in the mirror and you say, how did I become such a financial train wreck? I want you guys to visualize right now that those handcuffs are releasing. and that you're able now to move freely. You're able to move, and you're able to think, and you're able to be free of any of the financial debts that you may have. I'm thinking back to how I felt when I finally had that awareness. I want you guys to have that awareness right now. In this moment, wake up and force yourself to hit an emotional bottom when it comes to money. Force yourself right now to say, I forgive myself for what I did not know. I forgive myself for spending money. I forgive myself for buying the house that I could not afford. I forgive myself for leasing the car that I have in the driveway. I forgive myself for the debt that I've accumulated in consumer credit cards. I forgive myself right now. So I have a question now for you, everybody. Take a deep breath. How do you feel right now in this moment? How does it make you feel that you have admitted to yourself that you've become a financial train wreck? How does it feel? Last time I had scissors. I've got them again. Maybe in every episode I'll introduce one trigger, but this is really about how I can help you financially. Like maybe taking a credit card like this one. Just, Dave Ramsey does that, right? Cut up the cards. I do use credit cards. But of course, I only advise people as a money mentor to use credit cards if you can really be disciplined. And most people, when they're starting out on their financial journey, which, by the way, I want everybody to think of themselves on a financial journey towards financial independence. And you may be wondering, Evan, what is financial independence? Well, I'll be talking about that as we move forward. You need to be thinking about money in terms of security that it could provide for you and your family, and not material items over here. So we've got material items over here. house, car, vacations, clothes, and whatever you want to spend money on, jewelry, whatever it is. And over on this side, we have security. Money can buy security. You have to have that paradigm shift up here. Like I said, I think in the last episode, I grew up on Dallas, Dynasty, Falcon Crest, all of those nighttime soap operas that I thought rich was mansions and jewelry and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, you know what, maybe it is, but you have to switch that in your brain and you have to think more about wealthy. Forget rich. If you found the ASMR Money Mentor, you're probably beyond that. You might be trying to act like you're rich. That's okay, you're going to stop. You need to shift into thinking about becoming wealthy, and it's that financial security that leads to wealth. Financial independence means how many months or years can I live my life without an income from a W-2 job? Does that make sense? Now you may still be working because maybe you have real estate income because of home purchases. And by the way, I'll share with you right now, I'm not an expert in building wealth due to having properties that you rent out. I never did that. I'll talk more about that later. I tried when I was 40 or 42. I thought, you know what, Evan, why don't you buy properties? Yeah, everybody's buying properties, right? And you can rent them out. Because I was a late in life saver, I thought about that for a little while. I said to myself, Evan, kind of like that. I said, what if you bought all these properties and rented them out? That could be passive income, right? Yeah, that's true, and a lot of people do it. But I had to be true to myself, and I knew that it made me a little nervous and uneasy. And when something related to money makes you a little uneasy and unfamiliar, then you have to stop and say to yourself, that's not the direction I'm going to go. But feel free to brainstorm. Feel free to think to yourself about everything you may be able to do. Think about what is possible. One of the great things about building wealth is that you can see it first. I'll talk about my Build a Budget episodes in later. I'll talk about my Build a Budget spreadsheet in later episodes. Without a budget, you're not going to go anywhere. Even today, at a $1.5 million net worth, I use an Excel spreadsheet. I have a budget. I enjoy doing that. But again, if you're thinking about maybe properties and such and things like that, great. If you have that knowledge, go for it. I will support you. I'm just here on this channel, though, sharing my experience in an ASMR Money Mentor format, whispering triggers, etc. Because I just feel that for me and for most people, getting to $1 million net worth or whatever you want to get to, sometimes you have to do what is most comfortable for yourself. And for me, that was the basics, and I'm going to share what those basics are. I'm going to share with you in subsequent episodes who became my financial mentors I mentioned earlier. So, as we think about wrapping up this episode, and as you're hopefully getting tired and sleepy, and be thinking again to yourself that maybe the takeaways of this episode is to right now have that awareness, which I'm sure the awareness is there. I mean, if you found this channel, and by the way, as I mentioned, thank you so much much for finding ASMR Money Mentor. I'm so happy you're here. If you found this channel, then you're probably thinking that you need to do better. And sometimes we all need to do better with money. I know for myself, and again, I'm so excited about this channel because I'm going to share with you everything I've done. And you know what? There's no rush. There is no rush. Building wealth is a long journey. So I hope people find this channel later and watch the episodes and just take your time. Give yourself that time to relax and think about where you are financially. The key takeaways: find an emotional bottom for yourself, financially speaking. That is the first step towards doing better with money, is having awareness. Remember when I talked about my bankruptcy at age 29, I opened up those statements. I just thought, well, I can probably make the minimum payments, I'll be fine. Yeah, well, that's not true. And my dad asked me, how much money have you spent on your credit cards? Do you remember that? I think I shared that in the last episode. If I did, I'll share it now. And that's how we're going to end this episode, is to think about that awareness that you have an opportunity, no matter what age you are. You might be 50 years old right now in a financial train wreck. That's okay. What is 15 years into the future for you? Age 65. That's fine. For me, it was 40 to 55. No, I'm not saying I stopped at 55. I'm just saying it usually takes about 15 years, maybe 17 years, for people to really gain the traction that they need. And so then, wrapping up this episode, then I'm going to take myself back, reflections of my former self, back to age 29, because I like to remind myself all of the time, and to remind you, through this channel, about what's possible. So I cannot believe that the Evan Thomas at age 29 opened up his credit card statements and looked at everything I spent, and I didn't care. I knew I could make those minimum payments, or I thought I could make those minimum payments. I was so wrong. And my father on a phone call said, Evan, how much debt do you have? And again, do you remember what I said? 3 words. I don't know. Really? I don't know. So one night, I got all my statements out. I added them up. 6,000 on one credit card. Oh my gosh. 8,000 on another credit card. That's 14,000. 6,500 on the next one. I'm just making these up, but it was similar. 20,000. Oh my gosh. Another credit card had 12,500. Oh my gosh, we're at 33,000. Plus another 4,500 perhaps. I don't know. Something like that. I lost track. Anyway, the point is, I had nearly $45,000 worth of credit card debt on nothing tangible. Nothing that I put that money into was an asset. We'll talk more about that in other episodes. You put your money into income producing assets, not things that lose value like a car, etc., clothing. So thank you so much, everyone.